The look in my son's eyes scared me more than any doctor's diagnosis. It was not anger. It was not frustration. It was pity. That soft and sad look you give to an old dog that cannot hunt anymore. I was 70 years old. I stood in my kitchen holding a heavy cast iron pan. My wrist trembled. My grip failed. The pan crashed onto the floor with a sound like a gunshot. My son rushed in from the living room. He didn't yell. Instead, he gently took the pan from the floor and placed it on the high shelf. The shelf I could no longer reach. He whispered 2 words that cut me deeper than a knife. He said, "Let me. My name is Arthur." And in that moment, I realized I was becoming the one thing I promised myself I never would be: a burden. I overheard him on the phone later that night. He was whispering so I would not hear. He said, "Dad is getting frail. I don't think he is safe here alone. Maybe we need to look at assisted living." Those words froze my blood. Assisted living, that is the polite word for losing your freedom. That is the word for another man telling you when to eat and when to sleep. I sat on the edge of my bed that night, and I made a choice. I could accept that I was fading away, or I could fight to get my strength back. I chose to fight. I am going to tell you exactly how I saved my independence, because nobody tells you that your body gives you warning signs before it fails. I ignored them until the pan dropped. Do not make my mistake. The first thing I lost was not my strength. It was my courage. My world started shrinking, and I did not even notice it happening. It started with the weekly poker game at the community center. I told my friends I was too busy to come, but that was a lie. The truth was that I was terrified of walking across the crowded room. My balance had started to fade. It felt like I was walking on a soft mattress instead of hard ground. 1 week earlier, I had stumbled slightly near a table, just a small trip. But I saw the way people looked at me. They stopped talking. They watched the old man trying not to fall. I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. Shame is a powerful cage. Most men surrender here. They buy a cane and sit down. I refused. I learned that balance is a skill you can rebuild. So I started the Flamingo drill. Every morning, while brushing my teeth, I forced myself to stand on one leg. At first, I had to grip the sink with both hands to stop shaking. I felt foolish, but I kept doing it. 30 seconds on the left leg, 30 seconds on the right. By the 3rd week, I let go of the sink. My brain remembered where my feet were. The dizziness vanished. I wasn't stumbling anymore. I walked back into that poker game with my head high. The second warning sign was much more dangerous. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. I was driving my grandson to soccer practice. We were laughing and talking about his game. Suddenly, the car in front of us slammed on its brakes. My eyes saw the red lights instantly. My brain screamed stop. But my foot felt like it was moving through wet cement. I stomped on the pedal a split second too late. The tires screeched against the wet asphalt. We stopped just inches from the other bumper. My grandson looked at me with wide eyes. He didn't say anything, but I knew what he was thinking. Grandpa's getting too old to drive. I went home shaking. I almost put my car keys in the drawer forever. That is what most seniors do. We surrender our license and become prisoners in our own homes. But I learned that my nerves were just out of practice. So I started a simple game to wake them up. I took a tennis ball and stood facing a wall outside. I threw it and tried to catch it with one hand. At first I was dropping it constantly. My hands were slow and clumsy, But I forced myself to keep going. 10 minutes every morning. Throw, catch, throw, catch. By the second week, I was snatching that ball out of the air like a young man. I wasn't just training my hands. I was rewiring my brain to send signals faster. I kept my keys, and I kept my freedom. But a sharp mind is useless if your body is too weak to feed itself. The third battle happened right at my kitchen counter. It was a Sunday evening and I wanted to make spaghetti. I grabbed a jar of sauce and tried to twist the lid. It didn't budge. I tried using a dish towel for a better grip. I ran the lid under hot water. I tried until my knuckles turned white and my wrist ached. Nothing happened. I stood there alone in my quiet kitchen, defeated by a simple piece of glass. I looked at the phone. I could call my son to come over and open it, but I knew what that meant. It meant admitting I could no longer care for myself. It meant one step closer to the nursing home. I realized my muscles were fading away. It is a silent process called sarcopenia. Your body literally eats its own muscle for energy. I refused to let that happen. I bought a cheap set of resistance bands. I didn't join a fancy gym. Every morning while watching the news, I pulled those rubber bands. I did bicep curls in my living room. It took 3 weeks. But one morning, I grabbed a fresh jar. I twisted, pop. That sound was the sweetest music I had ever heard. I thought I was winning. My balance was back and my grip was strong. But then I met my neighbor George. George was fit and active just like me. Then one day, he slipped on his porch. It was a minor fall. He should have just bruised his hip. Instead, his femur snapped in two. I visited him in the rehab center. He looked small in that hospital bed. He told me something terrifying. He said, "Arthur, the doctor told me the bone didn't break because I fell. I fell because the bone broke." His bones had become like chalk inside, hollow and brittle. It is a silent killer called osteoporosis. You don't feel it until something snaps. And once you break a hip at our age, the statistics say you might never go home again. I was terrified. Walking gently wasn't enough to save me. I needed to toughen my skeleton. I learned that bones are living tissue. They only get stronger if you stress them. So I started the Stomp. During my morning walks, I didn't just stroll. Every few minutes I would stomp my feet hard on the pavement, like a soldier marching. I looked a bit crazy to the neighbors, but that impact was sending signals to my bones to build new layers. I was turning my chalk back into stone. There was one final ghost haunting me. It wasn't weakness and it wasn't dizziness. It was clumsiness. I was walking to my armchair with a cup of hot coffee. Suddenly, my toe caught the edge of the living room rug. I stumbled forward. The hot coffee splashed all over my hand and the white carpet. I stood there staring at the rug. I had walked over that same rug for 20 years. It hadn't moved. So why did I trip? I realized I didn't actually know where my feet were. My brain told me I had lifted my foot high enough. But my brain was lying. This is called proprioception loss. It is when your internal GPS stops working. This is why so many of us trip over absolutely nothing. I refused to let my own feet betray me. I started doing the tightrope walk. Every evening before bed I walked down the hallway, but I placed one foot directly in front of the other, heel to toe, just like a circus performer on a high wire. At first I wobbled like a drunk man, but after a week my brain recalibrated. I relearned exactly where my body was in space. I stopped shuffling my feet and started walking with precision again. 6 months passed. My son came over for dinner again. I was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for a stew. The knife moved quickly and steadily. I reached up to the high shelf and grabbed the heavy cast iron pot with one hand. I saw him watching me, but this time the look in his eyes was different. The pity was gone. It was replaced by respect. He sat down and said, "Dad, you seem different. You seem younger." I smiled. I wasn't younger. I was just capable again. I had built a simple routine that saved my life. And now, I want you to have it. It takes less than 15 minutes a day. First, brush your teeth on one leg. This keeps your balance system sharp, so you don't fear the crowds. Second, toss a tennis ball against the wall. This keeps your nerves firing fast, so you can react in an emergency. Third, use a resistance band or lift heavy things. This keeps your muscles from vanishing so you can open your own jars. Fourth, walk with impact. Stomp your feet to tell your bones they need to stay strong. Fifth, walk heel to toe down your hallway. Calibrate your brain so you never trip over nothing again. This is not exercise. This is your armor. I am 72 now. I live in my own house. I drive my own car. I cook my own meals. My son visits me every Sunday, but he visits because he wants to see his father, not because he needs to take care of a patient. We laugh, we talk, and when he leaves, I lock my own front door. That sound of the lock turning is the sound of freedom. You have a choice to make today. It is a choice that will decide where you spend the last 10 years of your life. You can accept that you are getting old. You can accept the stumbling and the weakness. You can accept the pity in your children's eyes. If you do that, the nursing home is waiting for you. Or you can decide to fight. Your body is not just a vessel. It is the house you live in. If the roof leaks, you fix it. If the walls crack, you patch them. Do not let your house crumble around you. Do the drills. Stand on one leg. Throw the ball. Stomp your feet. Do not be the senior who falls and never gets up. Be the one who stays standing. If you are ready to fight for your independence, then click that subscribe button. Let us grow old and strong together.